Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear.
Tyrus?
What I saw,
Yeah.
what it looked to me like he was negotiating with a deaf prostitute.
Picture this. Mel Gibson storms in like he's auditioning for Mad Max. Governor Edition, with Tyrus following, looking like he just left a WWE SmackDown, while poor Gavin Newsom suddenly finds himself the main course at a roast nobody asked for. As these two don't just call him out, they practically send a Dear John letter with extra sarcasm. So buckle up, because this isn't politics as usual. It's Hollywood chaos meeting a heavyweight reality check.
Turmoil. And I asked my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded.
Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe, because you don't want to miss this one. As Mel Gibson has never been the type to quietly sip tea in the corner. No, he's the guy who kicks down the door, flips the table, and tells you the tea is poisoned while staring into your soul. And now his latest cinematic masterpiece doesn't involve swords, battle paint, or priests. It involves the walking shampoo commercial otherwise known as Gavin Newsom.
I can watch the tape.
Yes!
He literally goes, I want some of this, then you do some of this, and I'll do some of that back to you, and then we'll do this, and then I'll pay you, and then we'll do it again.
True.
And then she kept saying, no. Okay, how about this? You do this one first, then we do this one, then we give a little back and forth.
Yes, California's governor, the man who looks like he was sculpted from marble by someone with only hair gel and smugness, is apparently getting dragged into a storyline even Hollywood couldn't script, as the man is built like a refrigerator with opinions. The kind of guy who could fold a folding chair just by sitting on it. And if Gibson is the chaos grenade, Tyrus is the anvil, forming a tag team that not only calls out Newsom, but does it in a way that leaves him looking like an extra in his own political soap opera. Because you know you've messed up when your harshest critics aren't rival politicians, but one of Hollywood's most unfiltered icons and a professional wrestler turned commentator, who carries himself like he's allergic to nonsense.
Did he leave out anything? I think there's about 100 other reasons too.
Well, you can't, it's not his words when he speaks.
Yeah.
You have to watch him closely. And some genius decided not to film him any lower than the shoulder.
Yes, did you? Yes.
So what did he do?
You couldn't see the hands.
No, but he sent Morse code.
So, why is Newsom in the hot seat? Simple. The man runs California like an overpriced amusement park where all the rides are broken. The bathrooms are locked, and they still charge you $50 for parking. And instead of fixing anything, he's out there polishing his smile like it's a trophy. But Mel and Tyrus have apparently had enough of this circus. And they didn't just throw shade, they built a whole eclipse.
Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, well, they were also suggesting that LA was under control. They had it covered while, of course, LA was essentially burning. And they've been blaming Donald Trump for all the chaos in LA, while Gavin Newsom has been trying to emerge as the strong leader of the Democrats as he eyes off the presidency in 3 years' time. But actor Mel Gibson has spoken out, blasting the governor and the mayor, rightfully so, for their disastrous leadership.
Mel Gibson's angle is clear. This is the guy who spent decades in Hollywood watching phonies climb to the top by faking sincerity. And nothing screams phony louder than Newsom pretending to be the golden boy of progressive politics, while his state looks like the background of a dystopian Netflix drama. As Gibson probably looks at Newsom and thinks, I've played villains less cartoonish than this guy. And if Gibson is roasting Newsom with surgical precision, Tyrus is bulldozing through him like a freight train full of sarcasm. And here's the thing. This isn't just about political missteps. It's about the image, as Newsom struts around like a wannabe presidential candidate. Hair slicker than an oil spill, practicing his serious leader face in the mirror like he's auditioning for the role of president on a daytime soap opera. While in the real world, California has turned into a place where people lock up deodorant behind glass cases at the drugstore, and tent cities compete with Starbucks for prime real estate. Like Gotham without Batman, and Mel Gibson has officially had it.
Yeah.
He's negotiating with the deaf prostitute.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with that.
Yeah. More likely.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been coming out and calling out, Gavin Newsom endlessly, and the biggest one of all is Mel Gibson. We all know that he is a very big, open critic of Gavin Newsom, and he continues to actually do that, and rightfully so, because we already know that there's a lot of issues going on right now within the state of California.
Picture this. Gibson points out the chaos. Tyrus doubles down with a smirk that says, "Yeah, we see you." And Newsom stands there like a prom king whose crown just got stolen. As the humiliation isn't just that they called him out, it's that their critique feels like the roast of the century. Because when two people from completely different worlds, Hollywood madness and wrestling grit, team up to mock you, you know your brand of politics has officially entered meme territory, with California turning into the political equivalent of a pothole-ridden road, expensive to fix, painful to drive on, and ignored by the guy who's supposed to maintain it. While the beauty of it all is that Mel Gibson isn't even trying to be polite, hurling cinematic-sized insults with Tyrus as the hype man, nodding along and adding his own comedic body slams. And together, they don't just call Newsom out. They shove him into a spotlight so bright it makes Hollywood red carpets look dim. And the irony is delicious, as Newsom always wanted to be the star. The guy whose perfect smile and slick one-liners made people swoon.
Gibson lost his house in these wildfires.
Yeah.
And what you just saw there was an effort to recall the governor and Mayor Bass. Does his star power in this matter?
It matters in the sense we're playing it now on national television on a highly rated Fox and Friends first show, and that has gone viral on social media. And meanwhile, the same day that Mel Gibson says what he says there, and he's correct on so many things as far as the management of wildfires, Gavin Newsom's approval on the handling of the wildfires is only 30%.
Wow.
Instead, Gibson and Tyrus turned him into the villain of their roast special. The kind of villain who's less Darth Vader and more Scooby-Doo bad guy. And when you pull off the mask, it's just some dude running a scam on the town, which is the sting. Because Newsom thought he was auditioning for president but ended up as the comic relief in someone else's act. And if there's one thing Gavin Newsom does better than running California into the ground, it's pretending he isn't, strutting around like the lead in some Netflix political drama. But instead of intrigue and competence, it's endless scenes of him combing his hair while potholes multiply like rabbits in spring. And if Gibson can look at a dystopian nightmare and say, nope, that's too much, then Newsom has officially crossed into parody territory, with Tyrus dropping his verbal elbow from the top rope, needing no fancy phrasing, just calling it what it is, a disaster in hair gel. As this is a man who built his persona on being allergic to nonsense, and Gavin Newsom practically radiates it, like watching a pit bull go after a chew toy shaped like a politician, with no hesitation, no mercy, just the sound of squeaking plastic and shredded dignity.
You can watch it. Look at the blinking. Blink, look. Meet me at the house. Like, he's blinking. He's sending, I'm getting there. Hey, just so you know, I'm not wearing pants.
Ew.
And then, look, he's blinking. And then eventually, the camera guy realizing that he's signaling him, so he gets appalled, leans back, camera comes down, and then we're back to this. I'll do this for you. You do this for me a little. So he's saying whatever he's going to say. There it is. See? They couldn't hold him back. He's like, I'm not on film. Oh, I'm not. Nope.
What really makes it funny is that Newsom probably thought he'd be untouchable in this space. Since politicians usually expect their critics to be, well, other politicians, rival mayors, governors, maybe a late-night host cracking a half-hearted joke, but Gibson and Tyrus are in an entirely different league. With Gibson calling it out with all the subtlety of a car chase explosion, and Tyrus following up to show this isn't just about California. It's about the absurdity of a man acting like he's qualified for the Oval Office, while his state looks like a survival reality show where nobody's winning. As California, once the land of dreams with movies, beaches and glitz, has under Newsom turned into a theme park ride called Collapse. Free if you're homeless, overpriced if you're not, with the only operational ride being the one that takes you out of the state. And pointing this out isn't just funny, it's devastating. Because Gibson has lived in that Hollywood dream machine long enough to know the difference between a blockbuster and a flop. And right now, California isn't even straight to DVD quality. It's straight to YouTube fail compilation. While the tag team roast gets better with the contrast, Gibson comes in with fiery intensity, the kind that makes you think he might grab a sword and lead a charge down the 405, while Newsom hands it to them like a gift basket with rolling blackouts, skyrocketing rent, and crime rates that make Gotham City look safe, yet his hair remains immaculate, and if there were a tax break for pomade, California would be debt-free by now, as Gibson couldn't resist mocking that vanity, and Tyrus delivered the knockout punch by pointing out that great hair doesn't hide bad leadership. It just makes the collapse look prettier on camera. And you can almost picture Newsom backstage watching the clips, desperately running his fingers through his hair to make sure not a single strand is out of place.
Well, speaking of full of, isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is that why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as it's being.
Because when you've been reduced to a punchline, all that's left is the illusion of control. And in Newsom's case, that illusion comes in a shiny, blow-dried package. As what makes this spectacle golden is how it exposes him for what he is, a man who mistakes appearance for substance. Like a knockoff designer bag that looks fancy from a distance, but falls apart the second you use it. And though he survived plenty of scandals before, dinner parties in the middle of lockdowns, policy failures brushed under the rug, endless speeches that sound like TED Talks for people who hate facts, when Mel Gibson, a man whose rants are practically Hollywood legend, decides to turn him into his latest target, and Tyrus backs it up with heavyweight snark. Suddenly, Newsom's carefully crafted image starts to look like a costume falling apart on stage. With the brilliance and the timing, as just when he was polishing his presidential ambitions, ready to audition for the big role, Gibson and Tyrus arrive with a reality check so savage it makes the audition tape look like a blooper reel. And instead of standing on the national stage as a contender, he's stumbling around as the butt of the joke, trying to figure out how two unlikely critics just managed to strip away the one thing he values most, his image.
How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
And the humiliation isn't going away anytime soon. Because Gibson and Tyrus didn't just roast him in passing. They created a blueprint for dismantling the Newsom myth, proving you don't need complicated policy arguments or endless debates, just a sharp tongue, a sense of humor, and the willingness to say what everyone else is thinking. As the emperor isn't just wearing no clothes, he's wearing overpriced hair gel and a smirk, and now the whole world knows it. Which isn't confidence, it's delusion on steroids. And Gibson doesn't even have to try hard, having been in Hollywood long enough to recognize when someone's reading a script they didn't write. While Newsom's entire campaign persona feels like it was, assembled by a committee of marketing, interns who thought America's biggest concern was whether their leader's smile could withstand a Category 5 hurricane, and Gibson sees a performance so shallow that even straight-to-DVD action movies have more depth. While Tyrus treats the whole Newsom for president idea like a comedy bit, not just knocking it down but pile-driving it into the ground and standing on top, flexing.
He's playing with us. Meet me at my house. You get mine. I get yours. It'll work out.
Paul, are they capable of soul searching? It feels like the party itself has no soul.
Yeah, I know, they have no soul. You know, it's a really interesting statement if you just kind of, you can break it in two. He spends the whole first part of that saying, we lost because this. Essentially what he says is, folks, we were on the wrong side of every issue last.
To him, the idea of Newsom running the country is like letting the guy who crashed the golf cart drive the space shuttle. Sure, entertaining for about 5 seconds, but then you're just bracing for impact. Especially considering Newsom's resume is basically a highlight reel of California's greatest disasters, from homelessness out of control to skyrocketing costs. And the best part is how he handles criticism, doubling down on the I'm polished. Therefore, I'm right strategy, like a kid trying to pass a spelling test by writing their name in glitter, which Gibson sees right through, tearing into it with the intensity of a man who's fought wars on screen and off. While Tyrus just calls it what it is, an act and not even a good one. The kind of performance that would get booed off America's Got Talent before the second commercial break. And imagining the presidential debates, if Newsom actually stepped onto that stage, is almost comical, with seasoned political brawlers ready to go 10 rounds on one side, and Newsom practicing his smirk in the mirror on the other, hoping the lighting makes him look sincere, while Gibson would compare it to casting a background extra in the lead role of an action movie, and Tyrus calls it what it is, a mismatch so glaring it feels like satire. With the timing worse than ever as Newsom carefully stages his image, showing up in swing states, doing the smile and shake routine, acting like he's casually testing the waters. While Gibson's fiery delivery paired with Tyrus's deadpan smackdowns creates a content creator's dream and a nightmare for a man trying to maintain his presidential sheen, and the cherry on top is that Newsom can't fight back. Argue with Mel Gibson? Trade jabs with a wrestler? The second he engages, he loses. If he ignores them, the roast lingers. If he responds, it escalates, leaving him cornered in a comedy chokehold.